I wasn't prepared to do this live, but as usual, I'm divinely inspired or triggered, however you want to see it. We're going to talk about polarities. We need to talk about polarities because there are too many people on this planet using the concept of polarities as an excuse for the dastardly deeds done on the planet. Bastardly deeds done on this planet. And if anyone thinks that this is it, and this is how it's done, it isn't. So I'm going to put to you the following. But before I do, I'm going to wait for people to get on this live. Okay? And we're going to see who comes on. Again, this is star seeds, polarities, and fate. And this idea, I'm going to share this live. If you guys want to share this live, feel free to. If you don't, it's all good. Let me look. Let me share this live with certain people that I know might actually benefit from this conversation, because honestly, what I just came across, and this is coming from a very beautiful soul. Okay, so share this live if you can. That'd be great. Polarities. I'm going to tell you the story of the Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna is on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. And he is facing demonic spirits who happen to be related to him. Uncles, cousins, brothers. And Krishna is his charioteer. And he says, but Krishna, I love them. I know that they are not like me. They're not like my other brothers and cousins. I know they are not of the light. I'm paraphrasing clearly. But they are my blood. And Krishna opened his crown chakra and showed him the infinity of what he had created. The entire levels of universes and galaxies, so that he would know what Krishna was. And he was not just a charioteer, but he was God in human form. And when he came back and he released Arjuna, the mighty armed one is what Arjuna means in Sanskrit, the mighty armed one, and deposit him back into 3D vibration. He said, you don't have to fight them. You don't have to do anything. In fact, you have free will. Do nothing. But today they die. Whether it is by your people and your sword, but today they are not going to live another day. So you decide if it is by your will, by your might, or by fate. Free will or fate. Tracy, really? That's the question right now? Are you listening to what I'm saying? Free will or fate? Free will or fate? And Arjuna said, I am your servant. I will go and I will do your bidding, for you are for I am your servant. And he went on that battlefield and kicked ass and did his due diligence and making sure that their death was honorable. And he did again, read the Bhagavad Gita on the Battle of Kurukshetra. That is one of the greatest, in fact, it's an epic tale, the Bhagavad Gita. It's called the Gita. And the reason why it's so epic, well, one reason is by some of the greatest minds have read it and have quoted from it. Bukowski, Jim Morrison, David Bowie. The list goes on and on and on. And this is not a time for a laundry list. It's too boring. So here he was, having realized that he had a free will not to go into what was fated, which was the death of others. So today I had one of my clients come to me, client friend, come to me and say, I know that this should not happen. I know that wars should not happen, and I wish them the best. But it is fated. They were incarnated to be that. And I had to push the fuck back. No, they were not. No, they were not. They were born to live, and they were born to die on. We all have expiration dates, my loves. We all do. Some expiration dates are young. Some expiration dates are teens. Some 20s, 30s, 40s, and the list goes on. I'll tell you a story. There was a helicopter pilot in LA, and he crashed the helicopter with passengers on the helicopter. What should have been a fatal accident, they all walked away and survived. And the following week, he was hit by a car. He was destined to die within a week. There was no question about it. But on that day, he was not going to die. There's an old Vedic saying, if one is to die by hanging, they won't drown. They will not drown. So when you see, and again, this is a sickness. I get so pissed. There's a sickness in the spiritual community. Well, they're fated. They incarnated, and that's their fate. No, fuck no. Yeah, are they going to die at 10 or 12 or 20 or 50 or 60? Yeah. But you know what you guys don't know, and most people don't know? There are portals to that one as well. A portal where you might say, that's why we have people who actually have a heart attack and die and come back, because they have a choice. Do you want to come back or do you want to stay? I want to come back. And sometimes the question is, you can't come back. I know you want to come back. Do you want to come back? Yeah, I do. You can't. You're done. You're here now. You've got to be with us now. There are portals. Some where you can actually return, some where you can't. So anyone in the spiritual community, okay, that tells you, oh, but it's fated, they're supposed to, that's what they signed up for that. No, fuck no. No. The question is this, as you face someone who's going to brutalize you and remove you from life, will you do it or won't you? Will you take my life or will you let me live another week, another month? And that very thing, that very truth, that very decision, which I've written about in poems like 20 years ago, because there were certain things in the spiritual community I didn't want to hear from people. It didn't resonate. It resonated toxic and it resonated wrong. There are people that are born to give you a choice of whether you will unalive them, since that's the new word in the internet today, or not. Now, will they live another year? They could. They might not live another week. But the choice is, will you be the perpetrator of their unaliving? Your choice. And they're giving you that choice. They're putting you in front of them, saying, not consciously, clearly, not consciously, will you not hurt me? And some people who are barbaric and brutal and brutish will actually harm a person and take them out. And it's a spiritual decision, and it's a spiritual contract. And some people will not. Will actually say, you know what, no, let me have compassion, let me honor that. And a week later, the person gets hit by a car. And not. Do you understand? But to ignore what the Bhagavad Gita says, which is in the, and people need to read that. In the battle of Kurukshetra, there is a moment of free will. Arjuna can either do the deed or not, but it's already predestined. Today they will not live another day. So this is not anywhere connected to the situations where people are in a place of suffering. No, actually, that's why the Bhagavad Gita is so fantastic. But I don't want to talk about it here, honestly. Not here. This is for other people who think like that. That's why I did this live. Because I think that too many people in the spiritual community have this weird bend on what compassion means. If a person is starving in a tent, you have a choice to walk by unmoved, undisturbed, or you can go back with a massive gallon of water, sandwiches, and a $20 bill. It's your choice, free will. It's no different than a person making a choice of being compassionate and letting someone go in a battlefield or not. So when people are put in various situations, there is the victim and there's the perpetrator. And the onus is on the perpetrator. It always is on the perpetrator. It's not on the victim, my friends, because the victim is like a sacrificial lamb. The onus is on the perpetrator, or the uncompassionate one, or the one who ignores this moment. And you can either do the deed or not. Remember, Arjuna did not want to do anything. He had massive compassion, even though he knew there were demons on the other side of the battlefield. One of the great stories ever told. And he still had compassion, and he still rejected this idea that this was his duty, but he could reject his duty. And that's what, when you read the Bhagavad Gita, when you read the Bhagavatam, when you read concepts of free will and fate, like really chew on that, like a lot. And then sit in meditation and try to figure out what this means to you. What does it mean to you? Because if Arjuna had said, Krishna, I'm not, no, I can't. But when Krishna said, you see, no matter what you do, they're gone. Like, if not you, someone else. Don't worry about it. You don't have to do it. But if you don't do it, they're gone anyway. Today is their last day here. I'm done with that. I'm not giving them any more chances. And so he said, okay, let me be the one. Because they are my brothers, uncles, and cousins. Let me be the one. And so he did his duty. And this is something that people really have to understand. Does that make sense? And so it's connected to everything. It's connecting from a homeless person in a tent. It's connected to someone who you think is drunk and is getting money from being drunk. And you go, well, they're just going to buy alcohol. Do you know, I have a friend who told me that there's some people, if they don't have a little bottle of booze, in fact, she would actually buy little bottles of booze for people who were transient, homeless, and give them bottle, because if they don't get at least a shot, they can die. They can be unalived because their body shuts down. Every choice we make that is either in compassion or against compassion is a choice. And I'm asking you to always choose compassion, non-judgment compassion. Try not to listen to a lot of these spiritualists who think, well, they chose to be homeless, or they chose to be heroin addicts, or every choice we make leads us to where we are. Yes, that's right. Every choice we make leads us to where we are. And sometimes the choice of other people made as we witness it is for us to either help or not help. It's interesting too, because when we were having the 1929 crash, the Great Depression, there was this concept of no, it's not about taking responsibility. Yeah, it isn't. Not for everyone. No, I'm not going to buy that. It's about us being responsible and kind to other people. It's about Ubuntu energy, Ubuntu philosophy. If you hurt, I want to know why. If you're not doing well, I want to know why. You matter to me. You matter to me. And there are people who have said, very successful people who said, if I didn't have this mentor, I would not have made it. It is not a victim mentality, my friend. And Mia, please, let's not talk about it here. This is for other people. It is not a victim mentality at all. There are some people who are in that mentality, but there are some who have been put into this situation. You could say Jesus was in a victim mentality. You could say Yeshua stepped into the cross with the victim mentality. Didn't he say, what have they done? Why have you forsaken me? And that's, and there were people who watched him go on the cross and did nothing. And there were people who could have done something. There are people that are victimized and attacked, and people are pulling out their phones and filming it. Is that victim mentality, the person being beaten up while everyone's pulling out their phone? It isn't. It's a moment. It's a choice. And we better stop with this bullshit of victim mentality. That is toxic spiritual bullshit. If someone's hurting, you fucking help them. If you don't have the courage to help them, be honest about it. Say, I don't have the bandwidth. I don't have the courage. I'm scared. That's honest. See, that's honest. I don't have the bandwidth. I don't have the energy. I'm so exhausted. That's honest too. But let's not fucking blame the victim, okay? That's bullshit, and I call bullshit. And there are too many people in the spiritual community who call themselves shamans who are fucking full of shit. Victim mentality, bullshit. President Carter and his wife were building Habitat for Humanity for 40 fucking years. Building houses for people so they wouldn't be homeless. Let's be kinder than that, okay? Let's rise out of that. Let's be better people than that. But let's not start blaming people on victim mentality. That is a bullshit line, and it doesn't belong in a spiritually ascension community. It does not belong there. That is old, tired. It's very tired energy. And most of the people in the spiritual community are no better than popes and cardinals. I'm sorry. You know, walk around, I'm a shaman, I'm a high priestess. I come from royal lineage. I don't want to hear that. It's bullshit. Try to find your heart. I came across a guy who was homeless with his little 5-year-old boy. And we asked him what happened. Because he had I mean, it's very rare when you see a single man with a child. Usually it's a single woman with a child. And his wife had died. Okay? Of cancer. And then went homeless because he had to take care of his wife. He couldn't work and take care of the kid and take care of his wife and have a job. And he couldn't keep up. We're one paycheck away from being on the streets. Is that victim mentality? Anyway, here was this beautiful boy and this beautiful man. And I could have said victim mentality. He created his reality. Yeah, depression's a bitch, my friends. Not everyone has money. So rather than judge him and say, well, he created his reality, we said, listen, here's a crystal, here's water, here's groceries, what would you like? I want fruit, he was a vegetarian. And we gave him what he wanted. That's not to pat me on the shoulder, it's to show you how we responded to that. That's to say, that's how you treat someone like that. You want to know what their story is. You don't just drive by or walk by and go, yeah, look at him. What a loser. You don't do that. That's not cool. That's not cool. But we need to be better human beings because this method, FDR with the New Deal, when he got people, because people in 1929 were boiling, did you guys know that? Eating the soles of their fucking shoes. Did you know that? They were Charlie Chaplin did a skit on that. If you guys even know who Charlie Chaplin is, go check out Charlie Chaplin on the Great Depression. And FDR came up with the New Deal. This is why we have railroads. Well, why we have newer railroads. Let me correct myself. Freeways and so forth. Infrastructure as we know it, because the New Deal got people off the streets. He put people on the payroll. People were fucking starving. There was a famine in this country. And no one was pulling themselves up by the bootstrap. That is the stupidest line ever. Pull up yourself from the bootstrap. There's no such thing as that. Very few powerhouses can do it. Can some people do it? Yes. Some of us are fucking badasses. We can do it. But not everyone can. And those of us who can't judge those who can't. It is not our place to judge them. It is not. So we need to do better. We need to be more compassionate. We need to be more secure in our money. We need to be more giving. I'm not going to donate shit to any society, non-profit. But I you know what I do? I donate directly to people I see. I donate to people I see. I'm not here to get a tax break. I'm here to look at people and go, holy shit. And I look at my son, because usually my son's with me. Not always, but What do you think? Yeah, fuck, look, it doesn't look like he's eaten. She has eaten. I've been dealing with this shit, watching people homeless. I remember seeing a woman when I was 22, on the sidewalk of San Francisco in 1986, thereabouts, begging for money. I gave her, in those days, that was a lot of money, like $15. By the time I went back and looped after my errands and all my shit, she was on that same side street corner, and all her 2 kids and her were eating the burritos from the money I had given her. They were eating, but they were still on that street corner. They weren't hustling for money. They didn't drive an expensive car. They didn't live in an apartment. They were still homeless. My point is, let's not be so quick to judge and say they are here because of what they've created. Let's not do that. That's bullshit. Let's do better. My donations aren't big enough to claim it on my taxes, so I just don't. And no kidding, I agree with you. But I say confidently that our choices bring us to where we are. And again, that's judgmental. And no offense, I'm not going to quote you because I want to, because I'm going to upload this live. Do better. Have better ways of seeing what it is. Don't take your fortunate gifts and think that everyone has the bandwidth to do it, because some people were so violently abused, essayed so violently, they don't have the bandwidth to come out of it. None of us we have no right to put our story and our judgment on anyone else that's homeless or having a hard time. I'm seeing young girls, this is 3 young girls in a week, crying on the fucking TikTok saying, I can't make my rent. One girl's making $100,000. Her taxes, it's going to be $30,000 this year. She's freaking the fuck out because her bills were based on, I guess, $80,000, maybe $85,000. She didn't realize that she'd be fucking hit by taxes. That's one reality. Another girl's fucking homeless. She's working for a government job, living in her car. And when they tell her, you can work from home now, she has to tell them, I don't have a home. Please don't make me work from home because I'm homeless. I live in my car. And the other girl was like, I can't make my rent this week. I don't get my nails done. I don't get my eyebrows done. I haven't had a vacation, and I've never had a vacation because I come from poverty. Let's not judge people. Let's help them. Oh my gosh, I saw those videos. Yeah, that's right. You saw those videos. You know what it tells me on TikTok? It means you actually gave a shit, and you hit heart and you loved it and you supported it, and that's why you saw all those videos. Because you gave a shit. So realities and manifesting is what most of us who are powerhouses, starseeds, can do. Don't take it for granted, my friends, because it's a gift. Few of us were given. Few people on this planet has that gift, or else we'd all be fucking levitating into 5D and manifesting the impossible. It's a great story. It's a great trick. But you have to have a frequency in your head of self-loathing. Can't be in your head. If you're having flashbacks of your father doing things he shouldn't have done, I'm sorry, I had a client like that today. Okay? And I don't want to get graphic. I think you get the picture. And that right there, the looping of that self-loathing of that, created from the very moment of infancy, will fuck someone up so bad. If they're not homeless, I'm fucking shocked, actually. The fact that they can put it together and still make money is a shock to me. I saw a guy who was homeless because his kid died and his wife left him and he couldn't put it together anymore. It didn't make sense anymore because his baby boy was gone. He didn't give a shit. He did not give a shit. We got to do better as a society, my friends. We got to care for those who have been harmed and hurt. And we're not. This society is cold as ice. But does that make sense? But yeah, I will read what you're saying. But let's not forget that there's a judgment that there is no place there. There's no place in judgment on anyone because we have no idea. The fact that many of us can accomplish things out of massive trauma is frankly shocking to me. It's shocking and it's a gift. And it's something we can give others by saying, I survived this, I survived that, I was able to accomplish this. Billy Carson talked today about Regina Meredith. He talked about how he was in massive poverty. He had to put, and I remember my husband doing that when I lived with him. That's how poor we were, where we had to put cardboard on the bottom of our shoes so that our feet wouldn't hit the sidewalk. Massive poverty. Where Billy Carson would have, like, what was he saying? Oh, corn syrup and bread. Massive levels of poverty. And now today he's a multimillionaire. He bought his house with cash. That's not the norm. That's weird. So when we talk to people about what they can accomplish, but if they're, yes, but Mia, I get you. I'm hearing you. Believe me, I'm hearing you. But hear me. Hear me. Hear what I hear. Because no offense, what I'm hearing people say in the spiritual community is you're in that tent because you manifested that tent. You thought you were a loser and there you go and you are what you are and you are what you think. And that is, I get so triggered because I'm so fucking sick of that spiritual fucking high brow, I'm from royal bloodline bullshit. I don't want to hear that shit anymore from the spiritual community. You might here. Do you want me to kiss your ring? Were you the Pope of the universe? I don't want to hear that. I get very triggered by that shit because part of the reasons why we have what we're having right now in this country and other countries, the homelessness that is unsurpassed in the history of this country, not since probably 1929, the crash. Is because there's a lack of compassion and generosity. We had multimillionaires, we had Lord Barons, we had the Gettys and the Rockefellers and the Kennedys who would actually open libraries and hospitals and orphanages and shit. Nothing. These people are walking around with their... Do you understand we have people sitting around with $100 billion in their account? 150 years ago, we had guys with 100 million if we were lucky. And they understood the value of humanity. They understood, even though they were a-holes up to the ass. I get you, right? But at least they had museums being open. They had libraries being open. Books were being open. Shit, man. These MFers aren't doing a fucking thing. They have $1 billion each. If each of them dropped $1 billion, we would not have homelessness on this planet at all. There would be no famine, no homelessness, and no medical issues across the planet. And whoever needs to, at that point you could say, well, they're supposed to pass. Yeah, there are some people that have inoperable cancers, inoperable disease. Yes, it's their time. You're right. And we better be there holding their hand to give them courage to cross over and drop their bodies. I agree. But the cruelty that has been accepted ever since Wall Street, the movie, came up with greed is good, that we've put these bastards as heroes on pedestals. And the spiritual community, the trickle-down effect is real, my friends. It's real. So I want you to know, let's do better. Let's not judge our own experience with others, because I've been on the edge of homelessness and it never happened to me. Why? Because I honestly, I didn't give a shit. I was like, I surrender. But the point is, that's not the point. See, that's not the point. That doesn't make me better than someone who is homeless, because Hilary Swank was homeless in her car with her mother. So was the African actor, I'm going to have to remember his name, who was in Gladiator. He was homeless in the streets of Paris for 7 years. Oscar-winning actors, both of them. And there's one more guy, I can't remember his name. Another guy who was homeless. That's not the end. But to judge those people against other people who will probably, drop their bodies homeless. In other words, they'll be homeless by the time they cross over out of their bodies. To to like make a judgment or to say, well, you've created this reality. Yeah, I'm sorry. No. No, it wasn't Russell Crowe. He's not an African actor. But it was Gladiator, and it was his buddy. You know, the beautiful African man with the big white smile. He was a beautiful man. So it's not about right decision. It's about, just so you know, it's about frequency. It's about fighting depression. It's about knowing how to fight depression. It's about knowing what the tools are. And not everyone knows those languages. Not everyone knows frequency language. Some people have to be taught. That's why many of you creating... I was only saying, Tony, that people who are in war zones, if their souls needed to experience this. No, it's not. See, and I call bullshit again. I'm sorry. No offense. It's bullshit. It isn't what they need to experience. They don't need to experience it. No one needs to experience a fucking war. Because most of, in fact, if you look at some of the souls in, let's just go, Gaza, they are trusting God implicitly and saying God is great and I trust God's wisdom. Those are not victimized souls. These are souls that are saying, I will put myself in the war zone and you decide if today is the day. And people are making the wrong choices who are in power. Let's call it for what it is. Let's stop the bullshit, okay? Let's just, enough with this. Enough. None of them chose to be born. None of those children chose to lose their parents. None of you're the soul of my soul, Khalif, grandfather Khalif, who lost his entire family except for one grandson, who showed his compassion and honor and integrity and elegance. He didn't choose that. No way. What he chose was, I will be there. You do what your will tells you to do. And I hope you'll choose well. I hope you will choose well. And the dastardly acts of these greedy little people chose greed over compassion and love. And he was fully prepared, just like Yeshua. Isn't it ironic? Yeshua stood across, what was it? What was the guy's name? Yes, thank you, D'Imagine. It is the energy of the 1% that creates cruelty, starts to here to change our dynamic. Thank you, Andromeda Flame. Thank you. There's your answer, Mia. That's it. Yeshua stood and waited for the people to choose him over a thief and a murderer. And they chose their ego. They hated him because he did not bow his head to the gold and traders of money, the money lenders. He bowed his head to only one force, source, God, whatever you want to call it. I don't care what universe, God, I don't care. And they betrayed him, but he was a sacrificial lamb. He said, I am not a king of this land. I am not a king of anything. Why would you call me a king? What was it? Pontius Pilate asked him these questions. Pontius Pilate's wife came to him. Did you guys know this? And had a dream that he was going to fuck this shit up if he hurt Yeshua. Did you guys know that? And she warned her husband, don't do this. This is a bad idea. And of course he went with his ego. And the people who were forcing him, the merchants who were forcing his hand, though he knew it was wrong. You could say, well, he created this situation. He created this reality. Really? No, he gave evil and good in one human being upon one human being after one human being a choice. And all of these human beings betrayed their goodness and chose evil and rancor and vengeance. That's exactly what happened. And we need to do better. Sorry, better. That's why we're here. I don't want to hear, no offense, you can hit me up with all these comments. I don't give one F. Yeshua waited with serenity. Polarity described this in Acta Palita. Thank you. Exactly. Okay? Exactly. He waited with serenity, and he was afraid in the darkness. He was afraid. He knew what was coming. If they don't pick me, if they don't pick the goodness in their heart, fuck me. If they don't pick the goodness and generosity in their hearts, I will perish. He knew it. He knew it. And he still went to give them. And so when you look at these people in Gaza and you start doing the spiritual mumbo jumbo bullshit, well, they wanted that experience of war. I call fucking bullshit. Don't say that. Don't say that to me. I'm the wrong spiritualist. I'm not your Huckleberry on this one. Take that bullshit, toxic shit somewhere else. Go with your 2, 3, 500,000, followers who have said nothing about this conflict, nothing about this Jenna, nothing. Go to them. Tell them. They'll agree with you. They'll love that story. Dolores can't. Yes, she is toxic. Look at her. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, straight up. Yes, she was toxic. There were some wonderful downloads that she was having. But she was toxic. That's why I didn't actually take her training. I went with Michael Newton. Look at Michael Newton. Look at that man. It's fucking night and day. Night and day. And there were some books that I read of hers. I'm sorry if I'm like, that I thought bullshit. I'm sorry. There were some books I went bullshit. Now I quote her on the 3 waves of volunteers. Don't get me wrong. But she is not my guru. Okay? At all. And there are many people that I will never call. Michael Newton is probably, what he wrote was straight up good. He wrote what he saw. He wrote what it changed him from being an atheist to a spiritualist. And he wrote his experiences, not more than that, not more, not less. He just wrote, and there's still some holes in his stories too, only because he didn't have enough experiences. He didn't travel. He didn't go to France. He didn't go to Africa. He didn't go to China. He didn't go to Japan. There would have been more data coming from that. Does that make sense? Michael Newton also he did not give information like that. I don't know what books you're reading, but I read The Journey of Souls and Destiny of Souls, each book at least minimum 5 times. And this was not a choice to be victimized by a war. It was not the choice to be victimized. It was a choice to come into a situation fraught with challenges. But the end result of Geno and so forth, no. I read those books. In fact, there's one book in Destiny of Souls where the guy is a starseed. He hasn't incarnated for like 4 or 500 years, and it doesn't feel comfortable being here. So I actually know the stories. And so please look again, because I honestly read those books again and again and again. And there's nothing that says I chose to be in a war zone, to be a victim, and to die in a war. That's not happening. I know this. In terms of what Dolores Cannon says, you're saying, is she toxic? Yes, there's aspects of her that were toxic. I'm sorry. And that's not popular. And I really don't care. Yes, when I look at her, I see toxicity. When I look at Arnold Earhart, who was a spiritualist, who was a fruitarian, who was meditating, who was talking about the benefits of fasting and so forth, he is not toxic. He's not toxic. There are things in your environment that will make you toxic. Very, 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 very toxic. Very toxic. You know? Like when I'm going to give you an example. When my husband died, COVID happened, my husband died, my mother died, I got toxic. Honestly, because my environment was not conducive to me being able to just purge and purge and purge and purge what was happening. So I when I say I call it out on me too. That's why I'm so excited about going up to upstate New York, because it's back in being in my milieu, in my place, in my being totally surrounded by the woods and the sounds of birds and the sounds of calm. And so I don't know what she was doing. But I can tell you that Michael Newton lived in Grass Valley, which is literally 6 minutes away from where I used to live in Nevada City, which is filled with forest and woods. And when you look at him, he's got bright eyes, large bright eyes, a beautiful mannish face, gorgeous, handsome face. And his neck is Everything's I mean, the guy's like in his 60s looking fantastic because he's hiking. He's in the woods. He's connected with nature. He's there. Dolores Cannon was not doing any of that. What? He lived an hour away from Sacramento? Yes, he did, my girl. Look it up. Look him up on Google. Google him. I was shocked. He died September 2016. But he was up in fact, the guy who, I don't want to mention his name, but I will anyway, because he's so amazing. Reagan, who actually did my first LBL, who travels from Northern California to Southern California, was my first LBL hypnotherapist, who turned me on to my professor, Paul, who used to work with Michael Newton, okay? And Paul Aron, my professor, is the official LBL trainer for the Newton Institute. So she never looked healthy, though. She never, you have to, listen, I may not look healthy, but I can tell you I can fucking hike a mountain. And I can go barefoot and walk in the woods. That is the beginning. And the fact that I've been in an environment that precludes me from doing that daily, because I need it like oxygen, has precluded me from being healthy in the full aspect of who I was. When I was living in Malibu, I was fucking powerful as fuck. Because I was running a mile on the beach. I was looking at waves, dolphins, this and that. I was chanting. You can't, how can you fuck that up? It's just, it was daily. So when COVID happened for many of us, I'm going to be honest with you, COVID is the lockdown is what got me in my first, not my first, one of many, but my first dark night of the soul in 10 years was COVID lockdown. I was like, I can't fucking believe people are going for this. They're muzzling their face. What the fuck's going on? I was in massive depression because I saw people acting like cattle. And I was like, we're fucked. What am I going to do? I can't live in a place, So, and there were a lot of people that felt like me. And a lot of people, unfortunately, unalivened themselves. They harmed themselves and went right out of their bodies. I can see this clearly in you. I see you in the woods dancing when I think about you. That's very kind, Mia. But we have to do better as a people. So, yeah, Zaylee, go look it up on Google. I know you will. But, so my point is, listen. Don't judge anyone. Don't think that because someone's in a wheelchair that they chose that for themselves to pay karma. Rather, look at someone who has been harmed by life and say, wow, what an advanced soul. That soul chose to be my teacher because I'm afraid of this. It frightens me to be blind, mute, in a wheelchair, dying of cancer. Scares me. Wow. They're standing in front of me and they're smiling. I'm going to learn from them. Many souls, and this is Michael Newton's book, and you know this. I know you know this, and you know who I'm talking to you. Says that when people get to be advanced as souls and want to really learn some shit, they'll come into what you call broken bodies. Because now they're like, yeah, I don't give a fuck I don't want to be Kim Kardashian. I don't want to be Marilyn Monroe. I don't give a fuck what I look like. Yeah, go ahead. Put me in. Helen Keller. She taught millions of people what's possible with her teacher. Okay? Those were massive teachers, massive advanced teachers. And so when you see a kid, don't say, oh, I guess he karmically deserved it. No, say rather, wow. Fucking a teacher. Hello. Honor it. When you see kids with autism, don't say, oh, that's really, I don't know what to do. Yeah, say, wow, they're here to teach. I've worked with kids who are nonverbal, with a particular client of mine who is actually a PhD. And she told me that she didn't know that kids with autism could be telepathic, psychic. And that when she gave one of these girls a tablet, it was spelling out what she was thinking. It blew her fucking mind. She didn't know they could do that. I went, well, why would you not think they could do that? Didn't you watch the Abraham Hicks talk, Esther Hicks, on why kids with autism are born right now in the last 20 years? Why? What the purpose is? She went, no. I go, watch the video. That's your homework. She came back to me and went, wow. Fuck. Yeah, that's right. They're here to push our buttons so we can get better at accepting what we have never been asked to accept. Read about what the Greeks used to do if you were not fully 100% normal in their minds, what they would do. That's not a compassionate society. Okay? We need to be more compassionate. We give to the poor. We help those who can't help themselves without judgment. The fact that you and I can manifest magic is magic. It's a gift. But it is not for us to judge those who cannot. It is not for us to tell others who cannot that they are losers and that they need to do better. And you created this situation with the way you think. Okay, But we don't know their story. We need to do better. We need to, here's a book. Here's another book. Here's a 108 bead mala. Here's a chant. Om Shanti Shanti. Or Om. Love. I love myself. Why? Give me 20 reasons why you're amazing. I can't think of anything. That's the problem. You have 3 minutes to come up with 20 things that are extraordinary. Physically, mentally, and spiritually. Give me 20 things. The average person can't even come up with 3. How the fuck are they going to come up with a new life? If they can't even come up in 3 minutes with 20 things that are extraordinary about them. What are we talking about here? If you can't come up with 20 things that encompass your physical beauty or handsomeness and your spiritual beauty and power and your mental powers in 3 minutes on the clock, if you can't do that off the top of your head, yeah, you're going to have a hard time manifesting jack shit. Yeshua should be our guide here. Non-judgment and compassion was how he lived and taught. Exactly. Yeshua was a human being who went through massive training in different continents and basically came back to his land of birth and hoped, like Plato's parable of the cave, that they wouldn't decimate him. And yet they did. However, he had enough influence and enough truth and love in his frequency with his beloved Mary of Magdalena and who he came from, Mother Mary, that he attracted starseeds who followed him. Many women as well as men. Don't go get caught up in the 12 apostles, all men. It's all bullshit too. There were many women as well that followed him, which was against Judeo-Christian ideas. Completely against it. But what's beautiful, what's fantastic, is that he honored the sacred feminine and the sacred masculine as equals. And that's why the Knights Templars came into power to protect certain secrets. There's so many rabbit holes in this. So many rabbit holes you can go down if you just fucking take a moment to. But if you hear a guru, I say this in quotation marks, a shaman, again, quotation marks, that says that anybody that is a heroin addict or a homeless person or selling themselves on the street has created their reality from themselves, are they lying? No. The frequency is the reality. And what is the frequency? Depression. And what is that from? Trauma. Can anyone come out of those kinds of traumas? No, not everyone can. It takes massive work. It takes money. It takes brain spotting therapy. It takes tapping. It takes hypnotherapy. It takes years of psychotherapy. It takes various modalities of healing. It takes money. And it takes knowing where to go for that. But it takes money. And the average person clearly doesn't have it. Nor do they offer it, right? At the VA and various, they just don't. So it's really, really important that we do better. I'm still in therapy from 10 years ago, out of pocket. Yeah, It's disgraceful. Out of fucking pocket. Out of pocket. Mother Mary, Mary of Magdalena, and Yeshua's energies are our gifts to channel compassion and his wisdom. It's true. I was, thank you, Andromeda. And thank you, Mia, okay? Thank you, Mia, for this discussion, because this is a very important discussion. And I honor you for bringing that to me. I honor you. I hope you're still here. What we have to be as a people is to trust. Many of you will have downloads of, I'm glad you are, of Yeshua. I was meditating a crystal on a cactus quartz crystal for a client. For Buddha, he wanted me to do Buddha. And I couldn't. I kept getting Yeshua. So finally I went, fuck it, I'm just going to do. And I said to him, listen, to be honest, I really don't want to sell you this crystal because it's Yeshua energy, and I've downloaded with light codes of Yeshua. And if you really, really want it, I'll sell it to you. But, and thank God he didn't want it. He wanted Buddha. And I was like, thank God. And I kept it. Yeshua is coming back as a lion through us. I often wondered, how would that look? I will come back. I came as a lamb. I will return as a lion. I'm paraphrasing clearly. Now I'm realizing, through us, we are the lions. We are the pride of lions. We are lions. How many times have I said that in lives? We are lions. Many of us are muzzle lions, but many of us are lions. And so through us, in our meditations, while I did LBL, I'll never forget this because I was like in shock. I was like, who the fuck is... hang on. I was telling my hypnotherapist, again, Reagan, Paul Aron's, person with Michael Newton. Who the hell is this? He went, well, I mean, maybe it's your... I said, no, it's not my guy. I know it's not my guy. It was Yeshua with a blue stola, sky blue stola across his white robe, his tunic. And he would not approach me. He would not make eye contact, but he was there. He was the first person I saw when I went into I was about to go into the Galactic Council meeting. And I ignored him and went up the staircase, and there was like an invisible barrier and I couldn't go. And the next thing I knew, I was in waterfalls of snow, sitting on a snow-capped mountain with these waterfalls that looked like something out of Lake Victoria, which is in Africa. And I sat and saw Yeshua sitting across from me, and we started having a telepathic communication. I was like, okay, oh my God, you are Yeshua. Uh-huh. When I went through all the steps that I needed to go with Yeshua, that's when I went up the steps to the Galactic Council, and I saw Krishna's face, and boom, there I was in front of the Galactic Council. What I'm going to tell you is that Yeshua is definitely prominent right now. It's no joke. It was prophesized, I know, but imagine someone like me who's not Christian, who's been highly disappointed by how Yeshua was packaged to me when I was like 8 years old in Switzerland and France and whatever. Loved Notre Dame, loved these cathedrals, loved St. Patrick's in New York, loved the acoustics and the energy, but did not buy into what I was being told. And suddenly, out of the blue, he started appearing in my visions. How weird, right? And yet, I haven't been asked to become Christian. I haven't been asked to be baptized. I'm not afraid. Why? Because I love. I love. I love. And there was a time where I didn't love my life, and I didn't love this planet at all. I wanted out. So I get it. I really get it. However, as I became more and more transcendental, as the dark night of the souls became more and more intense, I had only one choice: to survive, to transform, and to become transcendental. And so clearly I became transcendental, and still in process. Believe me, I'm nowhere near where I'd love to be. And even then, it'll still be nowhere near. Yeshua doesn't ask us to buy into dogma. He asks us to see everything through the lens of love. Beautiful. Thank you. So we need to have compassion. We need not to turn our backs to wars and say, well, you know, they were born into it. They wanted that war experience. Believe me, I was a warrior. I've been in so many fucking wars, I can't even fucking tell you. In fact, one of the last wars I was in, I was a victim as a child. Okay? And many of you have been soldiers, warriors, leaders, followers, deadbeats, losers, and triumphant. You know, you brought people to triumph. We don't need to go back to have an experience of war. None of us do. None of us, because there have been wars and battles and geno happening on other planets. There have been planets and ascension, a populace of sentient beings that are no longer alive because of genos in other planets. Does that make sense? So none of us need to know what that looks like or feels like. I feel like if we want to open the hearts and minds of the younger generation, we need to. We need to call out religions because it seems like they are so resentful of religion. They have a right to be religiously resentful. I was born into a civil war. I survived, many didn't. I learned, but it was not necessary. We have been all the most loved and hated, truly mirrored aspects of our own judgment. Yeah, they do. When you look at the younger generation who were born in 1970 and 1997 and above, they came here with massive, massive powers. Their hardware, aka bodies, their blood and bones, their containers, the temple, whatever you want to call it, are way higher in frequency capabilities than ours born in the 1950s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. Trust me. There are some that are the cattle of humanity. I'm not going to lie, but we've always had massive amounts of cattle of humanity. That means they're dead. You look in their eyes, you're like, wow, there's no one home, okay? But you've got some badass kids coming out right now, and they don't give one fuck, and they're irreverent as hell. And they're supposed to be. And so when you talk to a kid in the right way about Yeshua or Krishna or Buddha in the right way, and honestly in the way people like me talk about it, there's no religious dogma attached to it. It's frequency, energy, philosophy, belief systems, compassion, love, empathy, generosity. It does not have these crazy ideas of dogmatic beliefs that all children are born with sin, that, the meek shall inherit the earth, that do you understand? As long as you keep it far, far away from that dogmatic bullshit, these irreverent kids who thank God they're irreverent will actually sit. I've had them. In fact, some of them are my clients. They come to me because I make sense. People like me, Andromeda Flame, we make sense. We're not shoving dogma down their throat. We're trying to share with them frequency and what they can put their hat on. There's Thoth. It's another frequency. There's higher realms of being. Angel Michael. You want to call him an archangel? Fabulous. You don't want to? Okay, well, it's a higher frequency of consciousness. Okay? And that's what's important for these young children, young kids. So how do we avoid specific terminology? You don't. You break it down raw, like I do. You break it down like I do, raw. Communication in the way of being raw and real and irreverent and almost rude is probably the best way to communicate to them. Does that make sense? So when you talk about, and most people, when they rarely talk about Yeshua and the merchants. He kicked the fucking merchant. That's how you say. He kicked those fucking merchant tables down with his feet. He walked in, he fucking lost his shit. Why? Well, because they were full of shit, because they were given the responsibility to be the leaders, spiritual leaders of their people, and instead they were greedy bastards. Terminology, there you go. I just kind of basically tore it down. There's no terminology, but I'm still saying the same story. But the words I'm using are so irreverent, so outrageous, so rude actually, vulgar if you want, that kids of this generation will pay attention. That's how you do it. We are so busy being polite. I love George Carlin. He'd have a field day with the word unalivened. He'd have a field day with half the shit we fucking have created in terms of language since his passing. God bless his soul. I always think of him with these words, unalived. Wow. God knows what he thought of the spiritual community. Because we're no different than the popes and the bishops and the cardinals. We judge. We have royal bloodlines. We are the chosen one. Bullshit after bullshit after bullshit. Arrogant, soul-sucking bullshit. Stuff that feeds the ego but doesn't feed the soul. Constantly. We are the chosen people. 5 reasons why, 5 things to know if you were a chosen one. Can you who the hell is coming up with this shit? This marketing Barbie and Ken cotton candy Candyland bullshit. That's how you get the young generation. Because they know it's bullshit too. And those who buy into we're the chosen one probably are the cattle of humanity. They're probably keeping up with the Kardashians. How big is her ass now? It's pretty big. I want that same ass. You can't talk to people like that. It doesn't matter if they're 40, 50, 60, or 20. Who cares? You know what I mean? It doesn't matter. Everyone needs to know about the Borgias if you want to learn about the inherent corruption. Yeah, there were 2 shows. Thank you for bringing that up. There were 2 shows on the Borgias. Watch them both. One, the guy has an American accent. And it opens up with a very vulgar scene. I don't even tell you what it is. And the other one is with Jeremy Iron. Watch them both. Watch those series both. You'll have a fun. Get your popcorn out, man, and enjoy. The book, The Prince by Machiavelli, okay, was written based on the Borgias. So if you guys ever went to college, university, hopefully a good one, or high school, they would have told you to read The Prince by Machiavelli, okay? Which is the most corrupt way of manipulating. It's narcissism on steroids. 14th century, right? Andromeda. If you've never read that book, read it. Who are the Borgias? Sweetie, look it up. This is why history is important. And this is why history repeats itself. So, thank you for bringing that. Please answer the why are people living in war if it's not what their soul chose to. I did answer it. I answered it again and again. Because they weren't in Gaza. I'm going to give you an example. They're not in the Congo. They're not in Gaza. They're not in World War II. They're not in Paris. They're not in London. They're not in Vietnam. I'm going to just go on and on for a war to start. They're living there. They know there's corruption coming. And they're hoping that the leaders that were given the responsibility to be better leaders will be better people. But no, a war ensues. Next, let's go to the next level. Now there are soldiers coming through villages. And they're hoping that the villages will have honor and integrity and not violate their people and unaliven them and starve them and bully them and torture them. And why they're there is the sacrificial lamb. Meaning, just like Yeshua was the sacrificial lamb. I pretty much answered it again and again in multiple ways. They are not there to be victimized. They're there to say, today I die. This week I die. I will die this week. I know I will. However, here, I'm going to simplify it. A girl is unalivened by a serial killer. In fact, there was a person doing that, Ipswich, the Ipswich killer. Okay, he was known that. I don't know if you, Andromeda, if you remember that, but it was about 15 years ago. And I remember the same spiritual MFers saying, "Oh well, I guess they were going to get, they were that was their karma. They chose to." No, I said no. These girls were 17, 18. I wrote a poem about it, but I said, what had been taken from them by force when they were children, if you get my drift. Now suddenly they were facing a serial you know what. Now, they weren't going to not live another week or another month. And I'll tell you, so either by this person taking their life, by a car accident, by falling down the stairs, or by any other reason, a boyfriend, that went off or whatever. And that human being, that wreck of a human being who decided that it was fun to take other people's lives, was given a choice again and again and again not to. And every time the choice he took. He didn't let go, he took. But the philosophy of that came to me when I was in my 20s, late 20s, when as I said, the helicopter pilot, there were many stories like that, but this is the best one because this was actually in the newspapers, where he had survived the Vietnam War, was a helicopter pilot for ABC, CBS, I forgot, okay, in LA, weather report, traffic report. And they crashed there. They should have never survived. But they did. A week later, he was unalive in a car accident. He was supposed to die. I can't tell you how many stories like that I've heard again and again and again. I'll give you another one. The other one was Chicago. And Chicago O'Hare. There was a plane that crashed. Unfortunately, it crashed into shallow waters and it crashed upside down. Everyone in it was unalive, 270 passengers, something like that. And this man had missed his plane. And in the cab going to the hotel to get, and he figured, I'll just get the plane tomorrow. I'll just get a new plane, right? I'll just get a flight tomorrow. In the taxi cab going back to Chicago proper, the city, he was unalive by a heart attack. So when we look at war and we go, they signed up for this. No, they didn't sign up for this. The day of the end of their expiration date coming, that's a done deal. Sometimes it's within hours, sometimes it's within weeks, or a month, or a year. Absolutely, there are portals, and I can talk about it some other time. But these people, a good example of Gaza, they didn't sign up for that. What they signed up for, we will be vulnerable to their will, and let's see what their will brings to us, but we will surrender to that will. So if you want to say, well, they've signed up for it, not technically. Technically, they put themselves in harm's way, hoping that the perpetrators of this act would have compassion enough to say, we're not going to do that. That's not, no, we're not going to do that. We're actually going to, I don't know, for example, honor the Geneva Convention. Even war has, rules of engagement. So you could say they wanted to, but Tony, they wanted to experience war. No, they wanted to experience choice. Will you love me? Will you care for me? Will you see my humanity? Will you show the world that it is not about religion or race or color? Or will you show the dastardly deeds you've been doing to my people for 75 years or 100 years or 200 years or 300 years? It doesn't matter. Will you let me live today? Or will you harm me? And we see the answers again and again, and we are horrified. So that's what I need you to see as a people. We need to be better than that. And what's beautiful about what I'm seeing with all of you is that You have done something that no other generations has ever done across the planet. We have Vietnam War, we've had the Korean War, we've had all kinds of... There was a Vietnam War with the French, and then it was with the Americans. It's not new. There's been wars all over the world for centuries. Carthaginian wars, the wars with the Germanic and the Romans, the Greeks and the... I mean, it's just, please, the Lemurians with the Atlanteans. It just goes on and on and on. But no one ever protested around the world for one people. No one gave a fuck until the last year. No one gave a fuck. Oh, well, wars. It's part of the polarity. It's what we are. It's just, there's the yin and yang. There's the polarity of war. And then, of course, there's good. And this is how it is. And it's just, you accept that. It's just how it is. But guess what? Not this fucking time. Not on your watch. Not on mine. People are protesting all over the world. People in Asia. People in Africa. Clearly, South Africa went to ICJ. People in America, Ireland in particular, are losing their shit. France, it just, should I go on? Fucking South America. It goes on and on and on, okay? The world has exploded and said, no more, not under my watch. You're not doing this shit. Yeah, I know you've done it for... That's the polarity. That's no longer acceptable. That's what's different. And that is why you guys are extraordinary. You who get it. You who actually give a shit. And the spiritualists who say and claim that's polarity, start calling them on their bullshit. Don't let them teach that to our young starseeds here, brothers and sisters. Do not let them teach that shit to our kids, to our young adults who are here to make the world a better place. Do not teach. It's not acceptable. I'm sorry. And we better get that, together. Okay? I might not say it clear enough, but I now understand what you are talking about. Sometimes we are here to teach each other, and sometimes it's the hard way. The war affected me quite harshly too, although I live far from it. I understand. I've never lived in a war zone, honestly. I have friends like Andromeda Flame who has lived in a war zone. I have friends in South Africa who have lived in a war zone. It was a war zone. I had family members who lived in a war zone. My grandmother, my mother. And it should affect you harshly. It should. You're supposed to feel this shit. You're not supposed to turn off the volume. You're not supposed to not feel it. If you're a starseed and your third eye is open and your heart chakra, you're going to feel when the tsunami happened in 2002, and 500,000 kids, mostly kids, were gone. Okay? Unalivened, since that's the word again. To be politically correct, so we don't get shut down. 500,000 souls in 15 minutes were there 1 minute and gone in 15 minutes. You're damn right you're going to feel it. It's going to shake you to your very foundation. You're supposed to feel this, so that you can sit in meditation and transmute this energy. When you have 500,000 people dying in 15 minutes, because it took about that long, you sit in meditation and you help them cross over, because you can't save them at this point. So you sit in meditation, you work on your chakras, and you send a blast of energy and love so that they find their way home. To the light or not, whatever, to source. How's that? To source. Because I know there's this other confusion that people are talking about. Don't go to the light. Turn your back away from the light. Go to the source. Yeah, okay, fine. Well, you're supposed to go to the source. That's a no-brainer. Go to the source. Okay, go to the source. That's what we're supposed to do. So when these things are being seen, like the child, I forgot his name, God bless his soul, who looked like something from another planet. Famine twisted his feet into claws. Like he was so malnourished, he could no longer eat. And I'd heard that in Africa, by the way. Biafra, that had happened. This shit has been happening for hundreds of years. But we have billionaires who could turn a desert into an oasis overnight, because there's wells everywhere. and the desert was once evergreen. We have billionaires who are sitting, each of them 70 billion, 100 billion, 195 billion, who could each pitch in $1 billion and turn this table and turn the planet overnight, but they don't fucking give a fuck. We need to look at that. And we need to psychically, consciously escort a new earth without concern of these bastards. I'm sorry. And escort our planet into a place where there's no war. Is there polarity? Yes. Jealousy, greed, stupidity, fuckery. Of course, we're human. But not war. Not geno. Not famine. No, not in that. Because you will always have elders who will fucking balance it out. What do you think the Native Americans were doing? What do you think the Irish were doing? What do you think the Gaelics were doing? What do you think the Swedes were doing? What do you think the Africans were doing? They always work it out. Ubuntu, African saying. If you hurt, we care. Let's find out why you're hurting. That's Ubuntu. That's South African. That's an South African philosophy. So clearly we don't need wars. That's a polarity we never needed. And we don't need. You see what I'm saying? So the war affected me. So the war, and let's not call it a war. Let's call it what it is. It's a psychological geno. Because not only is it affecting people on the physical boots on the ground in that part of the world, right? Which includes, by the way, the Congo, the Sudan, and other places on the world. But it's affecting you because you care. So what you have to do, what I have to do, what all of us have to do is keep in our meditation, because we sure in the fuck can't get there. We can't help. Let's be honest. We can't do shit, okay? However, we've seen the power of meditation when people with inoperable cancer, Mia, you know this better than anyone on the fucking planet right now. You sat there and you worked your ass off to heal your body. You did somatic healing, spiritual healing, mental healing. You did. So that's what we need to do for the fucking planet. We need to escort it from this fuckery of polarity into the new earth. That's our job. Through meditation. So if people can take, and I say this again, but I'll repeat myself. If people can take inoperable tumors in their bodies, knowing they have 4 months to live, and turn that ship around with meditation and breath work and mantras, then damn it, I think we can save the planet. Not only save it, but escort it into 5D. And that's what we're being asked to do. You know what I'm saying? We're being asked to do that. Okay? Thank you, Jennifer. So that's what I want you guys to know. This is where we're at. And so what you can do is take a little time sometimes, especially when you get really triggered by maybe something you saw on Instagram or TikTok that really you're like, fuck that, then go in your next meditation and do some mudras that you are directed by spirit. You will be directed by spirit to do certain mudras, to send in energy, to transmute what happened, what you saw, into and escorting the planet into you're redirecting traffic again and redirecting and transmuting this vile energy, this monstrous energy into something that is on a 5D. You have that's the only thing many of us can do. Yeah, does that make sense? Right. I do, Tony, with all my heart, I chant and pray for liberation for all. Yes. But instead of doing it out of desperate, and I'm not putting words, or I don't know how you're doing it, but do it with joy. Do it with trust. Don't do it with anger. Don't do it with desperation. Don't do it with sadness. That's the wrong frequency to create the new earth. It's the wrong, you're neutralizing the effort. The effort is, you might as well just, it's like, you might as well pour water through a sieve, if that makes sense. Don't pour your energy through a sieve. Breathe. Recalibrate your energy. Don't come from a place of anger or it's not for you, Mia. I know you have it, but for other people, don't come from a place of, God damn it, I'm fucking gonna meditate and then no, don't do that. Don't see a war being won. See, or see, you know what I see? And by the way, I did it before I even knew Palestine had fucking palm trees. You believe how stupid I am? I didn't even know I didn't even know they had, but I kept visualizing the Palestinians with palm trees and laughing and eating and the whole place rebuilt and beautiful and children laughing and all of that negative, sad energy. I didn't even see a memorial. I just saw people living their lives and me visiting and sitting at a restaurant having a wonderful glass of lemon water and looking out at the sea going, wow, we did it. We fucking did it. And for me, it represented the planet. Because in a way, it does. I do too. I put my heart and soul in it with gratitude too, if it makes sense. It does make sense. Of course, with love. So all of you on this particular channel that follow me. First of all, thank you. But most importantly, I thank you for being you. For realizing how powerful you are. And if you don't, fucking stop the humble bullshit, okay? Stop the humble pie. Not today. That doesn't mean be arrogant. But self-importance is a double-edged sword. In one sense, you can be arrogant and swagger and throw your weight around. On the other sense, you can be very reclusive, very shy, very shucks me. Oh, I'm not powerful. I don't have... That's self-importance as well, to the negative. You know what I'm saying? Oh, thank you. Thank you for being you. You're my jewel. Thank you. All of you, you're my jewels. I appreciate you guys. So just know that I need you to just speak to people and to change the narrative with irreverent fuck you attitude. Act like you have $100 million in the bank and you don't give one fuck. How's that? There you go. And walk in and speak truth from passion, from your heart chakra, from your memories as a starseed. You have memories of planets that exploded, from sentient beings that destroyed it for whatever reason. You have those memories. That's why this shit's triggering the hell out of you. Many of you are homesick to homes that you can never return to because they don't exist anymore. And it's a numbing pain. You learn to live with it. We all have it. It's one of the signs of being a starseed. I don't even bother doing videos on that because I figure when I do these lives, I'm telling you, with most of us don't want to be here, number one, okay? Most of us are homesick as fuck and we don't know where home is. And 3, this is where you have to come in. 3, while you're here, get massive, magical shit done. Massive, magical things done. Heal the planet. I remember there was a fire in Australia during the COVID. I believe it was during the lockdown. And there was a group of people. I think I'll look through my emails to see who they were. They gave every time zone on the fucking planet, okay? And they asked everyone to meditate rain because koalas were dying, kangaroos were dying, it was a mess, okay? And we all meditated for only 10 minutes and it started raining. So we know we can do that. We know we can do that. Selfless service was a big question for me, by the way. I think I'm starting to understand from Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita, that was translated by Prabhupada, is one of the greatest, it's one of the best translations. Because I don't know if you know his story, but you may want to look at Prabhupada and look up his biography. There's a documentary on him. You should watch it. What he accomplished in, I think it was 10 years, thereabouts. I might be wrong by a couple years, either way. But when he came to this country, I believe he was 69. And he was broke. Broke. You don't understand by broke? I'm talking about broke is broke. And he came in with the faith that he needed to bring the Bhagavad Gita and the Hindustani faith to America in the 1960s. And he believed in prasadam, which is making food. So he would make food and have lectures. He would have lectures. And he would spend his days translating the wonderful works like the Bhagavatam and so forth, and write concepts. He talked about the Vedas and also multiple planets. Again, remember, this was the 60s. People weren't talking about, oh, there's other realms. Yeah, it's in the Vedas, by the way, but he was writing about it. And these hippie kids, having done LSD, loved him. This was an old little man. I think he was like 5'5" and probably 130 pounds or 120. They loved him because he did not judge them. And he would give them classes on how it was to be a good boy. That's how he referred to them, because they were all kids. A good boy or a good girl. I swear to God. Unfortunately, like all religious movements, he attracted, and he did not know that, some pretty big a-holes with big egos who were toxic as hell. But that's on the side note comment. But the truth is, he established temples all over the world. By the time he died, which would have been, I think he was 79 or 80 or something like that, he had done what people can't do much. When you look at what he accomplished, it's magic. It's unbelievable that a little Hindustani man, dark skin, big eyes, a massive accent, cute as pie, could actually have these young people follow him and do his bidding and adore him. And he was adored. So definitely watch his video, because when you look at him, and I'm not saying convert to Hinduism. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying learn from, just like Krishna, Radha, the Gopi girls, and then you got Yeshua. There's all these wonderful stories. There's Rama and Sita. There's all these wonderful stories. And many of the stories from the Vedas spilled into Egypt, spilled into Greek mythology. And of course, if it was Greek, it was Roman. And of course, from Roman, it became a lot of it. You'll see that. There's a lot of similarities. But it doesn't mean that religions were constructed to harm people originally. Certainly not. But let's be honest. You always have the BBs of the world that walk in swaggering with their bullshit and their agendas of greed. And so we're being asked to do better. We're being asked to really look at this concept of the new earth. For Christ's sake, Eckhart Tolle talks about it. The various texts throughout the histories talk about the new earth. The meek shall inherit the earth. I'm starting to realize what the hell that means. I used to resent the shit out of that comment, but now I'm realizing what it means. It means meek. Why? Because for centuries, you and I have been muzzle lions. Meek. I'm not good enough. I don't matter. I don't like myself. I could be better. I don't matter. I don't have that kind of... The meek. The ones who have self-loathing, the ones who don't believe they can manifest magic, the ones who don't believe that their meditation counts, the ones who believe that them actually manifesting something better for the planet will never make a change, the ones who think that if I manifest this, it probably won't happen, and I don't have any powers, the ones that have third eye openings and get downloads who say, it's probably all, I made it up in my head, it's not real. The meek shall inherit the earth. That's what it means. I finally got it. Took me fucking my whole incarnation, but at least I got it. So the love yourself isn't about the kumbaya. I love myself. Oh, I'm going to put on there. I love my new lipstick. No, it's about, I fucking know my third eye's open. I know I get downloads. I know my guides talk to me. I know sometimes I get corrupted downloads, but when I get them, I know what they are. I have heart coherence. I discern between good and bad. I know that I matter. I know that everyone around me matters, and I better let them know they matter too, because if I'm left alone to do this, it's an uphill battle. So I need you, and I need you, and I need you too. I need all. So it's a very sequoia tree kind of concept. The sequoia trees in Northern California live under one root system. They drink from the same root system. They survive and thrive. Trees talk to each other. Did you know that? Mushrooms. Without mushrooms, fungi. Watch the documentary Fungi. It will blow your mind. Did you know that every step you take beneath your feet, if you're walking on Pachamama, it's all fungi. It's all mushrooms, and they communicate. Do you know that when there was the railroad spillage up in, what was it, Pennsylvania, or I forgot where, but anyway, do you know that they could have thrown spores in the waters and would cleaned up the water probably within a month? We and the system we live under, this planet Earth is so intelligent. It's so intelligent. It has a consciousness that is asking us to see it. You know how it feels when your mom or dad don't see you? You know what it feels like when your twin flame doesn't see you and runs from you? Do you know what it's like to when you're not seen and not valued and not heard? Imagine Pachamama. Imagine planet Earth. Because that's what we've been doing. We have not seen our powers. We have not seen how our lack of self-belief and how we don't see how we matter to planet Earth. We don't see her. And so when you start apologizing, I have a video on that, and you start loving her and taking care of her and and saying, I got you. I will always be your gardener. I will always take care of you. I will protect you and your children of fur, fin, and feathers, and your human children. Now you have a new soul contract with this incarnation. So we matter. And so the meek shall inherit the earth is that. It means don't be meek anymore. It means stand on your power. It means you are enough unto yourself. It means that your love for this planet and its people and its sentient beings is so powerful that it can actually switch this planet off a 3D spectrum into 5D, into new Earth. And it can achieve miracles. The meek shall inherit the earth literally means that. It's already written, and that's why they're fucking panicking. They're panicking. They're panicking because they know, shit, these people are waking up. Some of you have woken up. I had a client who told me she woke up in January of last year. Some of you woke up 10 years ago. Some of you were born awake. Some of you awoken because you met your twin. And your twin was the earth-shattering event that brought you down to your knees. Things you thought you had healed weren't healed. They were buried, but not healed. So all of this progression that has, and many of you have survived the dark night of the soul. That's huge. And if you are a starseed, which I know you are, you've had more than one star. You've had a lot of dark night of the soul. It's just that the twin flame one really took you out. It fucking took you out. However, amen to you. However, now you need to look at your power selflessly. And what that means is you have to say, how can I be of service to the collective? And if each of us did that, which many of us are, by the way, many of us are already on that path. But if each of you actually saw your value, I mean, do you really think I fucking want to have these long conversations with you if it didn't matter? You really think I want to hear myself talk? I don't. However, I want you to know your value to this journey of the collective. Without you, one drop of water, multiply that by 100 million drops of water, and there's an empty vessel. We need all hands on deck. And we need you to see your value as a spiritual starseed being, whether or not you're with your twin flame or not, or twin ray. Because some of you, sadly, have lost your twin flame. They are no longer on this planet. They crossed over. And you might say, well, that's the end of my journey. And I would say to you, no, that's the beginning of a new chapter. So that's what it all means. Does that make sense? Thank you, Mia. Thank you for bringing up that very heated... It was very good of you. I appreciate it, actually. So I'm going to upload this video for you guys, and it's not a competition of who knows more. We are all equal here. Exactly. Thank you, Jennifer. We are all equal. The difference between me and you, maybe, honestly, because a lot of you are content creators that follow me, thank God. Thank God and God bless you, is that some of you still don't think you have anything to say. And every way of saying the same thing is valuable. So my hardcore, irreverent, no bullshit approach is not for everyone. You may be the one who says it nicely, gently, softly. It has just as much power as my way, because your way would attract that crowd of people that need that softness of approach. And so it's not about you're only doing it my way. Though I will say that for some, which I was listening, I was answering your question, when you asked me, well, how do we talk about this stuff with the newer people, the younger crowd? And I said like this, and I gave you an example. For some of these kids who are hard-bitten, no offense, they're hard-bitten, they're badasses, they're little starsies, they don't give a shit, they kick down doors. Yeah, my approach would probably be better, to be honest. But I do know of starseed youngins who are ancient souls in new bodies who need the soft Shakti, Kuan Yin, Saint Germain energy, frequency of the Chohans, the violet flame. They need more of that. I am Kali energy, but there are some that need Saint Germain energy, Yeshua energy. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's like, so it's not, oh, Tony's the only one that, no, it's know the truth. We all share a truth that we agree upon, all of us. And your job is to deliver that truth in your beautiful way. I love poetry. I love Rambo. He's a surrealist and he is a symbolistic poet. I love Jim Morrison's poetry. I love Emily Dickinson. I love Jane Austen. I love Shakespeare's poetry. They're all incredibly different. I love Bukowski's F-bombs. They're all different. They're all poets. They're all writers, philosophers, teachers. And yet, they each drop different bombs in different ways. Soft bombs, massive bombs, whatever. It's fantastic. And their approach has hit my heart in various places in my journey as an awakened soul on my path from a teenage girl to a grown woman. Each of these writers were important on my journey. And none of them had the same approach. In fact, it's important to note that each of them's approach was important because in some levels of my conscious awakening, I couldn't handle a strong, irreverent, like intense dialogue. I needed softness. And in some levels, I need a kick. I just need a kick. I just need somebody to fucking rock my world and shake me up. And so we're all so important in this journey. And that's where you will find your voice. And you will set a tone to the contents that you create for public consumption as an influencer of the spiritual dialogue and the spiritual path, so that you hit other people. And if we do our jobs, just like the old salon, there was salons. Salon was a time when you'd have painters, philosophers, poets, writers, musicians who would all gather. It was very big in the 18th century. And they will all gather, like Voltaire, and I can't remember some of the people in his timeline. But anyway, they will all gather and have what they call a salon. And the salon, they would talk about all kinds of things. And they would influence each other's art. There was no discussion. They all influence each other's art forms. And then they would disperse. And they would influence the collective. And then they would come back to the salon, the meeting, they have tea and pastries and whatever, and they would talk. And they would hammer out some ideas. And they would influence each other, and then they would spread out again and influence the collective with their creative work. We as a people of starseeds need to do more of that. And that's why I've been trying to create these groups so we can get together and become more and more of a team of influencers to help. Now, I've been accused, I'm just going to be straight up with you guys, that I'm creating a cult. A cult is one leader that tells everyone what to believe. A co-creation with the universe and source is, what is the truth? Do we agree? Yeah, that sounds good. Okay, let's do it. And everyone says it in their own way, in their own method, in their own heart space in that time. And whatever resonates out of your throat chakra, from your heart chakra, is going to be perfect timing for maybe 100 people or 1,000 people at that time. And there's spillage. They will need people like me, they will need people like you, and they will go back to people like me, and they'll actually pry themselves away from people like me and find people like you, and vice versa. And it's exactly how it should be. But we as starseeds are mentally more artistic than you think, all of us actually. And we're so creative in the way we think that we really need to be more vocal and create more content for people. We are all sitting around a round table, absolutely. And I was visualizing that too. Arthur's round table. We are. There is no leadership. When you start doing talks, let's say you do retreats or you start having a talk or a salon, like a talk. If people start looking up at you, let's say you're sitting in a chair, make sure that you lower yourself on the ground. I'm not joking, so that people look down. And I'll tell you why. The psychology is subtle. The somatic psychology of allowing people to look up at you will feed your ego and make them believe that everything you say is gold. And you want dissent. You want people to argue with you. You want people to question you, actually, is a better way to put it. You want people to question you. And you better have a good rebuttal that is spiritually aligned, not your ego. You're spiritual aligned, which means it's coming from a place of love and generosity. If it's coming from a place of ego and I want to win, it is not spiritually aligned. If it comes from a place of love and generosity, it's spiritually aligned. And be ready to say, I fucking didn't know, I'm sorry. You have to be ready to say, oh shit, I fucked up. You're right. I was sure that I was sure, but I guess I wasn't sure. Like, it's okay to have egg on your face here and there. It's okay not to know. It's okay to say, I don't know. When somebody asks me a question sometimes, it's best to say, I don't know. Don't wing it. Don't fucking wing shit. I don't know. Fucking perfectly valid and honest answer. As a matter of fact, a smart person, when you say at some point, being a teacher or an influencer, whatever the hell, and you say, I don't know, a smart person will go, wow, I actually respect that. You're damn right, you should. That person's not leading you by your nose. A person is not a guru cult leader, right? I don't know is probably the most incredible gifts you can give someone when it happens. And then, what's funny, when you say I don't know, and here's the kicker, I've heard people actually agree with this. As a spiritualist, when you got your third eye open, you're getting downloads, you might say, I don't know, right? And boom, there comes the answer from Spirit. And like, wait, hang on, fuck, I think I do. Wait, hang on, I do know. And here comes the answer. And it's a download. And it's fabulous because it feels so like you're energized by it. So in you saying I don't know and being humble, right? Not falsely humble, truly humbled. The universe will actually quite often give you the answer within steps of saying I don't know. They'll go, boom, there's the answer. And you're like, oh, there's the answer. Okay, wait, I thought I didn't know, but I do know now. And that's really cool because it does actually happen. It totally happens. So I don't know, leave space for learning and leave space for downloads. Because the universe goes, yeah, Yeah, okay. That person's like not playing games. They're not trying to, you know, run people and make people think that this person's like infallible. Hello. How can you not be infallible? You're having the human experience. You're not walking on water. You're going to the bathroom like everyone else. You're not eating the sun. You're not breathing air, and that's all you're. Okay, hello. So anyone that has that attitude, I have to say, I kind of, I don't trust them at all. So anyway, I want to thank you all for being here. I'm going to upload this live. I think this live should be uploaded because the question of generosity and non-judgment and we all have our roles. I'm feeling asleep. I thank you, Tony, for this discussion. Om Tat Sat. Om Tat Sat. Thank you so much. Thank you, Tony. I appreciate you, Jennifer. So I'll upload it on YouTube. It's on my profile, Linktree page. Go ahead and check out my YouTube. Go to Sacred Intimacy Tarot. Please don't get hustled. I am not going to hit you up for a fucking tarot reading. Believe me. Do I do tarot readings? Yes, I do. But will I go and hit you up for it? No, I won't. I'm a hypnotherapist, past life regressionist, psychic. If you want a reading, go on my website, tonybarca.com. Fill out the intake form. Give me your phone number. I will call you. We will book on the phone together. So you can hear my voice. You know it's me. So far, AI hasn't gotten let me put it that way. The little hustlers out there can't afford that kind of AI yet. So until that happens, my phone call is me, and then we'll go from there. Okay. But I want to send you so much love. Thank you for being you. Trust in your mission. Trust in your voice. And yes, always question. Always question everything. And I love these discussions. This was a great rebuttal. Next time we'll do it more live. All right. Namaste. Be well. Much love. Thank you.